and recognise that I wasn't one of the crowd. I was an individual and everyone else was as well. I think it's really hard when we talk about sort of characteristics that we have and where we get them from, whether it's sort of, this was one of the things I was struggling with when I was asked to come and talk to you, was what did I get from school, what did I get from my parents, what did I get from my experiences, and what was I born with. But what I came to with all of that was that there are some certain things that I've found as I've come through my training and been working in the hospitals with real patients and colleagues and everything for the last year and a half, is that there are things that seem to come much easier to me and much more naturally to me than for some of my classmates. And those are the things that seem to kind of be related to critical thinking, independent thinking, being able to trust my own ability to go and learn myself, be independent, and also to sort of relate to people. It seems really simple, and it seems really simple to me, but I see people struggling every single day, and I just kind of, for that sort of thing, for me, I know that that's something that I've got from the school, because in the same way, that experience of going through school with the same people, and they're not people that are like you. Everyone is completely different in this class of 30 people, and you learn how to relate to them. Even if you haven't got very much in common with them naturally, you learn that, and you actually, I mean, I'm the same. I've got all my friends from my class are still my friends now, and they challenge me as well, because it reminds me to relate to people in different ways. And I have that skill to relate to people and to understand people. So I suppose in conclusion, the things that I really value the most from my education at Maple Park was that I had the opportunity to learn more than just the 5 subjects in high school. I really valued having the experiences of being involved in plays, in my lessons, getting that broader knowledge, and doing things like independent studies, learning not only about a particular subject that really interests me, but also about how to learn as well, and how to teach myself. Also having the encouragement and guidance about how to develop my own critical thinking and my own independent thinking, and to develop who we are as people, not just as future workers in a particular field. And then finally, developing the diverse relationships with my classmates, which is sort of inevitable when you spend 14 years of your life every day together, and the understanding that that gives you of people as people. So, yeah, that was really what I wanted to say.
Thank you. And now Toby.
Good evening. My name's Toby. I graduated from Mike Park in 2008. So I'm the baby, and obviously still have everything going, hopefully, for me from Michael Park. Before I start and talk about my time there, I just wanted to quickly list a few things, which is probably going to sound maybe arrogant or whatever, but I wanted to list a few of the things I was lucky enough to achieve once I first left Michael Park. And when I left, I graduated in 2008 in December, and in January 2009 I was in America because I applied and received a scholarship to go to America and play sport. And the scholarship was actually academic, and then the reason I went was for the sport. And during that time there, I was able to achieve a lot of amazing things that I'm really proud of, which were things like graduating to the top of my class from college. I was an academic all-conference player 3 years in a row, and I went to a conference championship, and then I was also awarded the Academic Athlete of the Year in my final year at college. So, I mean, the funny thing is, being able to achieve that, it was interesting to think when actually Des called me last night and said, "Oh, do you want to speak?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm prepared." Um, it was funny thinking that in Class 8, 2 of the memories I have, number one was being in class and I was on daily report, which is you've been in trouble so much that you now have a little booklet you have to carry around, and every teacher has to sign it after class to make sure you've done it right. And if at the end of the week you haven't, there's more talks and you get in trouble. So I had that booklet, and I remember, I don't know why, but for some reason I got annoyed, so I threw it out the window and said, I don't need this. And that was popular. And then I remember, just before a German class started, I snuck in under the desk of the teacher, and I sat there the whole class. I don't know why, and everyone could see me, but the teacher couldn't, and I thought it was great. And obviously the teacher probably knew I was there and just let me get away with it. But those are the 2 memories I have of Class 8, which is a year before high school. So needless to say, going into high school, I may not have been the star student or the most ready for high school person. But what I think people have mentioned here, and the really special thing about Michael Park, is that it's a community, and it's really like a family. And so going in with this sort of, I don't know what I was thinking, where I was at, but I was a rebellious little guy. They didn't really give up on me. They didn't shove me into the sort of trouble kid class. They didn't say, okay, well, just keep him out of trouble and hopefully he passes and we'll tick him off as another statistic. There were people that helped me through things. They encouraged me. I had 30 of these people right next to me, the same age, yet they could recognize I was struggling. They encouraged me. And I had actually 2 people in my class come to me and nominate me for what is a student rep, which is the sort of head of the high school. And that kind of was a real big turning point in my high school experience here, because people didn't give up on me. They supported me, they stuck with me, teachers, classmates, older students, everyone like that, still put their trust and support in me, even after I chucked things out the window and been, not everyone's best friend. So that was probably the number one thing for Michael Park. You're never going to find that anywhere else. You go to a state school or something, and I have a lot of close friends. My best friend went to a state school after he went to Steiner and lower school. And he always used to say, man, I wish I had that. I wish I had that group of people that stuck with me, that helped me, that I could share everything with. And you don't realize it at the time. If there's any students, you probably some people you don't like, and 30 of you is like a family, so you're going to fight, as a family does. But the more you're in it and the more you're away from it, so once you leave, you realize how special it is. And that was really a big thing. So, it's something I'm really thankful for, and something that really shaped who I am, was having that. I think another thing that is interesting, because I thought of it literally 20 minutes ago before I turned up, like I said, prepared, and that was mentioned, is that Michael Park isn't about teaching you how to be taught. You're not stuck in a classroom and made to just make sure you learn the material and pass the tests and make sure you pass the grades. You're really taught how to learn. And for me, that wasn't something I really understood until I started to realize in college that I was getting things other people weren't. Because you're taught not to just make sure you know the answers to the test so that when the test is finished you passed, and a week later you've forgotten the material. You're taught to just go there, and if you want to learn it and you want to accept the material, then you'll find a way to do it. You don't have to do it by writing an essay if that's not the best thing that works for you. You don't have to do it by typing this thing away and making sure A equals A. You can do it your way, but it's going to help you learn. And it was interesting because I took off right away to a college, right? American college, they do it A to A as much as anyone. So I thought I could struggle, but I found that I could take a wider look at things instead of just focusing, oh, I have to do this. I could see it from different angles. I could think about it more abstractly. And I think that was a lot of the Steiner education. Teachers not forcing me to just do it that way, but think of my own ways to do it. And it was really interesting to find that it actually came pretty easy in college. Things just flowed. Once I got how things worked, I understood it, I was able to think more. and had a lot of comments from professors who said, wow, yeah, that's a really different way of thinking at it, and that's an interesting idea, yeah. And I actually graduated with a degree in sport and recreation management with a minor in business administration, which, if you're from a Steiner school or you're a Steiner person, people outside, business administration, things like that, it's not top of the list when you think Steiner. And that's okay. It's not really about having to learn the business stuff, You don't have to do a business course in high school or know everything about management to do it in college. And that is really quite interesting because a lot of people seem to think it. And I think it's something I worried about is when I was going into high school, friends worried about, parents I think worried about, is do you need the right things to achieve the right kind of qualifications? For me personally, I don't think you do. I think you need the ability to be able to learn, and you need to be able to take it in, and you need to be flexible enough to just go there and accept what someone's going to give you and take it in, which I think Steiner kids do really well, which is interesting. The last thing is, I just work over a year now working for Trade Me, obviously a big part of New Zealand and a massive company, employs about 300 people, from business people to developers and everything in between. The interesting thing I found there is when I first went to the interview for the job, like tie, suit, here we go, really sort of like, yes, I feel like my sport and recreation management degree is a great thing that's going to help me here. And then I got the job, thank God. And I was talking to the people who interviewed me a little while later, and I started saying, what was I like in the interview? They said, well, you're pretty uptight, We actually thought, maybe he's a bit too business-like for this company. And it's an interesting thing because they're such a big business, but the people they look for are the people that have the right personalities and the right type of just drive and want to do different things. So they have this kind of 7, aspects that they look for in employees. And number 7 is, and excuse language, is don't be a dick. All right? I mean, that's one of the motives for hiring people, and the CEO and everybody live by it. And I think it's something that Steiner is very, very good at teaching. It teaches people to be good people. Everyone I know in Steiner has a slightly different view on the world. They don't just see it as, I've got to graduate, I've got to get a job, I've got to get the car and the house. They see it with a slightly different light. They understand it a little bit more. They understand people a little bit more. And they understand that you're not just going to have success by getting the car, the house, and the job. I've got 2. I've got a nice Subaru out there and a job at Trade Me. I'm working on the house, but Ponsonby is expensive. You don't just need those things. And actually, if you can relate to people and you can have that little bit more of understanding them and being part of a community and being part of more than that, then you're going to have a lot more success in life. And so that was my last ding moment when I was working for Trade Me of how my Steiner education really helped me and shaped who I am today. And still hopefully young enough to learn a few more things, but I'll always be thankful for Michael Park, what it taught me. I have some of the best connections in my life there, some of the best friends, and some of the best life experience. So, good luck. It's tough. I'm sure it's going to be a fun experience choosing. And I can't promise you that if your kids go to Michael Park, they're going to come home every day going, I love it, and it's the best thing in the world. They're definitely going to come home saying, I hate it, and I don't want to do this. But that's part of any high school. What I can say is if the kids go here, they'll thank you later on, just as I thank my parents, because you won't get it anywhere else. Anywhere else is going to give you an education. My class is going to give you an education and an experience. So. All the best. Hope it goes well.
We have two Class 12, three Class 12, where are you, right? He's up there. Three Class 12 students here, and I just thought I would ask each of them to, just for a couple of minutes, just talk to you about what they're doing at the moment, what their aims and goals and aspirations are. And then it's not for me to stand here, and Jane, our high school leader, is here, Jane Patterson, and we really don't want to be standing here answering your questions. It would be much better if our senior students could stand here and answer the questions that you've got, and we'll jump in as and when we need to. So, front row first, so Celia.
Hi everyone, my name's Celia. I'm currently in Class 12 this year. I'll start with a little background. I'm one of the originals. I started Jacaranda Kindergarten in 2001 and I've come right the way through. I started Class 1 in 2003. I think, yep. And it's been really good. I am currently a science girl. I take chemistry, physics, calculus and stats. And next year I plan on studying engineering at Auckland Uni or Christchurch Uni. I haven't quite decided yet. By listening to our three previous students, it doesn't sound like the school has changed very much. I did want to mention a couple of things about the school. And the first one was the ability to learn how to learn is still a really big key thing in our school. And actually I have a really good example of it from last week. We learnt a while ago that we're all different types of learners. I turn out to be a visual kinesthetic learner, and so I like to see things or do things, and that's how I learn best. And in our calculus class a couple of days ago, nothing was going in, it wasn't really quite working right for me, but I figured out that if I write it all down and I look at it that way, then that makes sense for me, and I take it in so much better that way. So I told our calculus teacher, Mrs. Sands, and I'm the only girl in my calculus class, so lots of boys over there yelling, but I said that, Mrs. Sands, I can't understand what you're saying because I don't have time to write it down. She said, okay, Celia, that's fine. Well, you know, I'll leave it up and you just tell me when you're done, and then I'll move on. So she's now left me a little space on the board where I can write everything down, and then I'll go back later and say, yeah, I got it. And that was a really big thing that I learned from this school, because I don't think I quite would have felt comfortable going up to the teacher and saying that in other schools. The other thing that was mentioned was the way we have to get along with people that we don't necessarily have a lot in common with. In our class we have sports people, we have artists, we have dramatics, we have scientists, we have trapezes, I don't even know, but I can honestly say I love them all a lot, and being with them the past 12 years has really taught me that I can get along with anyone, even if at first glance I don't really know what they're on about or anything like that. And I play in a lot of sports teams outside of school as well, and that's really helped me to get along with that, because I play lacrosse and football, and they're very heavily team sports, and you have to know your team and get along with them well to win the game. Another point about the school that I know a lot of people are very hesitant about is our lack of variety of subjects. And trust me, it hit me hard when I got to class 11 and learnt that I wasn't going to be able to do PE. But I thought about it for a little while, and I figured out that actually in class 12, when we do our IP, I will be able to get to do sports as well, because I've chosen to do surfing for my IP this year, and I love it so much, and I've had such a good time with it, and it means that I get to spend a couple of hours a week just out in the sea on the board doing what I want, and that counts as part of my Steiner certificate. Like, I get to do something that I love and get credits for it, so that's worked out really well for me. And yeah, I wanted to finish by saying that I've had a really good time there, and I hope that you guys will make the decision that's right for you. I really liked this one.
I haven't really got anything planned for tonight. It's been my background. I grew up in Rotorua, basically in a Māori family, where 2 languages were spoken, Māori and English. So I found it challenging trying to learn one language and then having to speak another one at night with my family, and got really confused, so it taught me how to learn in that way. And growing up, I started playing league when I was 3, and my brother when he was 2, so me and him grew up together playing the same sports really. We were homeschooled right up until we were 9 years old. Mum didn't want us to go to school in the first place, and then she kind of gave in after however long we were asking. And then we went into Montessori, was the first school we went into, Malfoy Primary School. And there it was basically like a kindergarten really. We weren't expected to do anything, or we weren't asked to do anything specific by the teachers. We were kind of given these little grammar boxes where we learned articles and nouns, verbs, all those different things that make up a sentence. And we learned different ways how to use a sentence, and then basically went on after that into intermediate. But we didn't do intermediate school in Rotorua. We moved to Tauranga because we found out about Steiner education through my little sister, Amarita. She went to a Steiner kindergarten, and Mum liked the philosophy around it. So we moved to Tauranga because she found out there was a school in Welcome Bay. And for 2 years we went to that school. And we would have carried on, but my dad lost his left leg in a car accident. And then he was travelling back and forth from to Auckland, came back to Tauranga sometimes 3 or 4 times a week. And so it was really hard for our family, not having him around a lot. And Mum looked into us moving up to Auckland, but she didn't want us going to a state school. She loved Steiner education. So she basically looked around, she found Titirangi, and then she got references to Michael Park, and then we decided to come here in 2000. We moved up to Auckland in 2008, and then started school in 2009. So I started in class 7 here at Michael Park. And I must say I was quite hesitant coming to the city itself because I was brought up in the countryside. Love being around small amounts of people. And little did I know, I was coming to a small school anyway, but it was so culturally diverse that everyone was different. I found it so weird that everyone was different. But in my opinion, I found it better than being in state school because everybody is the same. Every single individual is the same in state school. So the school teaches you how to be different, different thinker, teaches you to voice your opinions, and mainly in state school you only hear opinions voiced by ambassadors or people that are in good communication with staff. And yeah, so that's what I loved about coming to Michael Park School. I didn't actually grasp Te Reo Māori until I came to the school. So in class 8 I started speaking a little more, and then class 9 I was expected to do my first speech for Te Reo Māori, which was the initiation into the high school. And I was scared because we had to stand in front of our parents. We were sitting here, we were over here, and then the whole high school students, and then you had the Māori speakers from the high school who were welcoming you in. And for me, it wasn't only hard standing in front of people talking, even in English, at that age, but even in a different language, it was an experience. It was really, really good. And ever since then, I've been speaking Te Reo Māori in lots of different situations. All thanks to Matua Ian, my mum supporting me at home. But yeah, I now speak in lots of different situations. I recently spoke at the teachers conference, the Steiners Teachers Conference, where all the Steiner schools come together, all teachers from the Steiner schools come together. And I welcomed them in with a full Māori speech, no English spoken. And all of them were blown away because I was the first to do the hongi with all the teachers that came through. And all I got was good feedback from them about how confident I was to even get up and speak a different language to a lot of people who didn't understand it. But yeah, they supported me. Currently, in my park, I take drama, art, te reo Māori, and no, not PE. Completely forgot. Music. Say music. And PE was my 5th subject, but because of my IP, I dropped PE. My independent project is pursuing a double diploma, one in fitness and one in business management. So it teaches you to run your own business for half the year, and then in the first half of the year it teaches you fitness diploma. So you're taught how to train different individuals around the world. Yeah, so I dropped PE because I was getting a lot of everything that was taught in there through my IP. It was real scary undertaking a double diploma because of the demand that it has. It's so I'm basically managing 2 different schools at the same time, and I've learned that through coming to Michael Park. I didn't initially want to go to university. That's why I took the double diploma on this year, and I didn't even want to come to Michael Park for high school. I wanted to either go to King's College or to a different school on scholarship for rugby league. And my parents encouraged me to stay in the school. And it wasn't until recently that I realised why. It's because the school is basically like a family. It's so closely knitted that you really can't go anywhere without someone being on your back. I recently had problems with my family, fighting, all that stuff, arguments. And it led to me being sent back to Rotorua at the start of last year. And I didn't realise how much of an effect it would have on me. Basically, my whole class was asking me where I was, why I wasn't at school anymore, and I've never really gotten that from any other individuals outside of the school, apart from my immediate family, and I didn't know that they had that much love and appreciation for me within the class. So yeah, basically I look at all of them as my brothers and sisters, and their relationship with me is really, really strong. At the beginning of term 2, I was sent back. I was brought back to Auckland and then carried on my education. I didn't even think I was going to pass level 2, but the support from the teachers was just outstanding, and I ended up passing level 2 with a merit endorsement, which wasn't even on my list of achievements at the time, and really surprised me because I didn't find out until after New Year's that I passed level 2. Yeah, so high school for me was a real good experience. It's taught me so much. Not only that the individuals that you're with within the school that they're your family, but teaches you to voice your opinion, to be open, to let people know where you're at, and you you don't get judged for that. Yeah, you don't get judged for your own opinions. So if there's anything that I have to say, it's just voice your opinion. That's what schools teach me.
Hi, I'm Ryan. So I haven't been in Michael Park for my whole school. I started here in class 5. I originally started at Titirangi, and then after that I went to America and a Steiner school over there for a couple of years. And then once I finished there, I came back and I went to another Steiner school called the Happy Rainbow. Out of the way away, but yeah. Anyways, I came here and I couldn't even read when I came here. Like, just the looseness of the other schools that I've been to, like, had just led me to that area. And immediately it was just the support that, like, you're going to read by the end of this year. And, like, just, yeah. They hold you as, like, an individual and take you up, even from this young age. It's not just as when you're in the high school that this starts happening. And then, like, academically, it just grew, and, you know, so we turned into high school, and it got better and better, and the support was still there. There's never the opportunity that you're going to fail. Like, they are there for you, your friends are there for you, your teachers are there for you, everyone's wanting you to pass, and you're going to with the amount of support they got. The support doesn't just stop academically, especially in sports. There's a lot too. People don't think we have a lot of options with sports, but I mean, we have rugby, basketball, lacrosse, soccer, hockey, tennis, volleyball, netball. Like, I mean, we have all the sports. There is options for sports here, and we do pretty well at them. You know, like, we produce a lot of good sportsmen. We've got a guy in my class going to Worlds for mountain biking who leaves tomorrow. And I like to think that Michael Park pushes us to do better, like, not just in school, outside of school. So it doesn't end there. We, like, when we're on the sports field, you know, we're doing it for, you know, our family, our back home in school. This year I'm doing history, English, drama, hard tech and PE, and that's, I want to get into construction management at university next year, which at Massey University, which is looking pretty good so far. I just got accepted into communications as my fallback if I don't get construction, but I'm, you know, pretty confident that we'll get there, especially with support. Yeah, it's pretty much it. I just think that Michael Park School it offers more than a state school can offer, and it lets us as, like, a human being have our eyes open to what's actually out there. And it's not like, as a teenager these days, especially, you know, 17, 18, there's a lot of stuff happening out there. And I just think that it really does keep you aware of what's happening. Like, it's all around us, but, you know, we know what's right or what's wrong, and I think we know that more so because we come through Steiner and Michael Park. Yeah.
So, some of you may have questions about high school. We've given you a short overview booklet which gives you just a sense of the study pathway, and
Happy to answer questions.
yeah, so fire away with some questions.
Didn't really ask at the end,
See what
but
you
do you want to ask questions?
Hi, my name's Ben. I've got 3 kids at school, and my eldest daughter's in class 8 right now. And I just really have a couple of questions for you guys who are still at school and you guys. So, those of us still at school, how did you find the transition from Steiner School certificate in class 10 to level 2 NCEA in class 11? Considering everyone else, other state schools do level 1 NCEA,
Dave said he's wanting to know what the transition was like from Steiner School certificate in class 10 to NCA level 2 in class 11.
I think they've done a really good job of structuring the Steiner certificate so it includes everything that NCEA has as well as putting in all the main lessons and everything. And I remember I was actually really hesitant about Steiner certificate at the beginning, but then I did all the main lessons, and because I enjoyed the main lessons so much, they had so many different varieties, I did really well in all the main lessons, and I got marks from that and put that to my education as well. But yeah, I didn't really know the transition at all.
I found it really easy transitioning from Steiner School certificate level 1 into NCA level 2. It's not actually that much different. If anything, the demand is higher. There's a lot more stuff that you're going to hand in for Steiner School certificate level 1. So basically it's teaching you at a lower level what level 2 is going to be like exactly. And with level 1 NCA, you don't have that much demand. Basically, you do 60 credits and you move on to the next. With the NCA, with Steiner School certificate, they push you to get all the credits. So, yeah.
Level 1 science, I think it gives you more compared to level 2. We get a lot of friends at state school and stuff, and they go and often it isn't a massive shock to step up from level 1 to 2 for them. Whereas I still find that we're actually we hit the ground, running.
And the other question I had was, how much do you think your independent project in class 12 impacted your ability to get merits and excellences in your other subjects?
Let me repeat the question. How much do you think your independent project in class 12 helped you get merits and excellence later on in the study?
No, that's not the question.
Impact.
In fact, it's the opposite. Did it impact on your ability to get higher grades in your other subjects?
Oh, totally the other way around.
Yeah.
So was it a distraction or a...
Yeah, because I just know something anecdotal. Last year, when a class 12 student who graduated last year found that his IP soaked up a lot of time to the detriment of success in his other subjects. And I think, I don't disagree with the IP at all. I think it's fantastic. But I just wonder the timing of it in class 12. I just want to hear from you guys. Is it a big impact?
Yeah, sure.
And
So do I
potentially
need
going
to say that
affect...
again, or have you understood the question? Okay, good. Gareth.
I still remember. It's a good question because the independent study is kind of an outside factor. As you say, you're going to do the same amount of work in regular school and you've got your independent study. The interesting thing I think it does is that it is more work. There's no denying that, but it teaches you the ability to concentrate and keep control of your work in that kind of final year of high school where you start to learn a little bit more. Your teacher's not just going to hold your hand and tell you how to do it. And that was a big thing that I learned from it, because what I did was I ran and started the lacrosse team here. So I coached the youth team and the boys team that I played in, and then I also played for New Zealand in the same year. So it was a lot of work, but it was a work more of passion and something I enjoyed. So it almost helped me where you spend so long concentrating on that schoolwork, trying to get those merits, trying to get excellence and succeed, that being able to just take some time off and go to something you enjoy, refreshing a bit. So although it was more of my time, it was actually time that probably helped me to chuck away the stress of class 12, NCA level 3, go out and do something I enjoy, and then be able to come back and go, okay, now I can focus a little more, I feel more refreshed, I feel better to do it. So I certainly wouldn't disagree that it's a bit extra work on the side and there's more to concentrate on, but I think it did two things for me. One was keep you sane and help you do something different to just schoolwork. too, it prepared me to go to college. When I turned up at college, it was the kind of thing of, you have an assignment, this is what it is, turn it in or don't. The professor's not going to hold your hand or lead you along. Doing that independent study was probably the first step towards learning that difference and learning to work that way. So yeah, it certainly helped a lot, and I never felt it pulled or took away from my marks.
That would be the only thing that I would add, and it's not that tertiary education pathway is not for everybody, but the way I want it structured now, it's competitive to get in, but then that first year is pretty consistently a filter year. So once you get in there, if you don't have the ability to be motivated and do well, then there's a massive dropout in that first year.
So it won't necessarily, if your year 13 grades aren't necessarily as good as they could be because of the IP, you're saying that that's not necessarily going to hold you back because first year uni.
No, I mean, if you do get great grades and you get in,
Yeah.
but you're not able to work at that more challenging level and be driven and be independent in your study, you'll fail that first year. No, that's not for everyone, but that's, as a lecturer, I see that all the time. Students come in and they're just lost because they can't work independently. And there's very little support there for them.
And you saying you gained that skill purely because you did the IP?
Well, I think so.
Possibly.
The independent project isn't about completion. It's basically about starting something and then being able to work your way around it with your classes. You don't necessarily have to finish it. It's put in place for, this is my opinion. In my opinion, I believe it's put in place for students as a challenge to manage their time. So the student can decrease the amount of effort they put into their independent project and then increase the amount of work they put into their subjects. It's not about trying to balance it out. It's basically about starting it, really, and then gaining an experience of what you're going to get in uni, because my mum just finished her 3-year degree for teaching, and she's now the Māori teacher for the school. And she was coming home with 3 assignments due in the same week, and so it's basically a lead up to uni. But I don't believe it has an effect on what grades you get at school. If you're going to strive for excellence, you'll generally hit it.
Yes. For the students of the school right now, who are, it sounds like 2 or maybe all 3 of you are looking at doing some tertiary education. If I got that from your tools. And I'm just curious, so you're doing that right now, you're making applications, and since you've already had your fallback position granted, what are the institutions looking for? Is it all about grades? Is that what's going to be looking for?
Yes and no, it's a pretty long process. So like the first step is you send away your application, it's like applying. You're going to send out to the child to grades and they'll see it. And then normally you get like you need to go like get into this one of that and of course and what it goes into. But like it depends on what you want to go into. Like engineering for example, that's like Celia. That's very orientated. I mean, I'm going to marry this year, but that's still easier.
The reason why I asked that question is my daughter was a year ahead of Toby. That's right, eh?
Hello, Toby?
Toby? Sorry, you were a year ahead of Toby. Sorry. 2 years ahead of Toby. Sorry. I'm thinking of You're looking so young. I'm getting mixed up with your brother, sorry. And so at that time, she had the independent study, which was a profound experience for her, and I really value it. But she also had Steiner certificate and NCEA in tandem. So the workload was massive. I get that that's now changed, which is wonderful. But yeah, if at the end of the day, the independent study is an incredible growth thing, and many students is the making of them on some levels. But I was just curious, is any of the growth and how you present yourself in the world taken into account out there in an application to get accepted for a degree?
I didn't obviously go into some of your students, so I can't it's not just trade me, it's actually changing across companies and business throughout the world. It's more about who you are and the type of person you are that companies are focusing more on now. It's not so much the black and white grades and stuff. It's really, do you have the right sort of things inside you to drive you to do the job and do it well? So while that's not university, I don't know if they look for that, actually, I hope they do. I can say from perspective of big companies, you know, who have 300 employees, CEO, $1 billion turnover, their shift is now towards you know, what type of person are you, and how do you relate to others, how do you relate to the job, and then looking towards a little more, you know, okay, do you have the skills? But they'd rather take someone who's got the right personality and everything like that and teach them the skills, than the person with the, yeah, okay, you achieved whatever the skill and someone said taken the test, but your personality just doesn't suit it at all and you're not going to work well in the environment. So that's a business side of things, I guess.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me in terms of going for jobs, but I was just curious about going to the courses
Right.
and passionate about.
What I know about going to courses is that, yes, that they look at the academic marks. So here's all the applicants, and they can only look at that many. But out of that many, they actually only have room for that many.
Right.
So that band there, they're looking for distinguishing mark factors.
Right.
That's when things like your independent project, the work that you've done voluntarily outside school,
Duke of
running
Edinburgh or
sport
something
clubs,
like that.
Duke of Edinburgh, all of those other things actually play a part. The testimonials that we write for our students, because we know them, because we know what they've done, what they're capable of. And I mean, they're honest, but they also tell the amazing things that our students do. And that often makes the difference, you know, if you are in that top level, just to rise you up into the group that they actually take in.
But Tracy, I could sort of add to that. So my job is I teach at Avondale College and I'm an associate dean there. And when we provide information to our students taking options in the senior school, we have a couple of pages in the curriculum booklet which lists the prerequisites for university courses in terms of what level they need to be achieving in certain subjects, merits, excellences in certain subjects, and it varies for the different degrees and diplomas. But all the universities will have that information to give to you.
And the interview process is quite discipline specific as well. So if you're going to med school, it's quite a different interview to teaching. And I went to a few different interviews when I was at one of years, and I was doing postgrad a little while ago. And it's that thing, once your foot's in the door with your grades, it can be very variable, depending on... I've had friends who've interviewed for med school in Auckland, and it's been a really negative experience, and then Dunedin in Australia were really positive. It's a hard thing to quantify. Yeah.
Can I just add too, because I work for a union that represents doctors, as you know, in New Zealand, and doctors are entering into the hospital, coming out of medical school, going into the hospital system, and every year, more and more and more, we are getting doctors arriving in the hospital system who break down.
Yeah.
And they've got the results, they've got, you know, they are brilliant on paper, and then the responsibility of the patient sitting in front of them is so huge, and it is happening more and more and more. It's increasing. And I think that's what these guys are saying, you know, you're making people, you're not making machines.
It's the same thing with physio in our final years when we're in placements. The dropout's pretty big because it's very academically driven, and once you get out in the industry, if you can't communicate and you can't problem solve on a day-to-day basis, it's massive.
Heartbreaking
Yeah.
because they've invested 6 years in medical school, and for what? You know, they're never going to be able to cope with the patient.
Do you want to add to that?
Oh, I just wanted to say that I had an interview at College House, which is down in Christchurch, the other week. It's a hostel down there. It's the one that I really want to get. And they asked me, have you done any community work? You know, what community work have you done over the past year? And I went, oh no, what have I done? I haven't done anything. But then I remember that actually my socio-ecological, I've done knitting for Cas Care, I've done fundraisers for the school, I've done coaching football, and I could actually use that in my passion there. And then they asked me what contributions do you expect to make in the college, and I said, oh, I don't know again. But then I've captained the football team here, and I can use all that kind of stuff in my application for that as which I actually did use. Fingers crossed.
I mean, it's just something we've been considered with no degree or anything like that. But looking at the big education picture, expected standards or levels of degree or getting into jobs, having to have degrees and all that other stuff has been pushed up. So that's not actually a defining factor anymore. You know, I mean, you can have so many bits of paper, but like as you said, that won't necessarily get you the job like it used to. You know, so there's got to be that difference. And all that point of difference and all those other things. And I know, I've heard from you, Adam, before, the statistics and all that stuff of how well kids do. And that's probably, apart from the fact there's really small classes and that face-to-face teacher time and is just astounding. How can you not do well in that situation? But yeah, having all those other things, independent projects, all those other drivers, I think is what makes it different, what makes you unique. And gives you that advantage and all the other things that are expected from you as well. You know, that puts you in that.
When we took Steiner School certificate to the University Vice Chancellors and sought NZQA approval and approval from the Vice Chancellors of the universities for level 3, they looked at the independent project, the Class 12 project, and they said they granted it addendum status with the International Baccalaureate Diploma, and they said it's one of the defining features of our education and the thing that they think it's very impressive in terms of what it demands of our students. And if our students complete that, what they come to university, they like that. It's something that they were very positive about, isn't it, Jane?
Yeah.
Were
So,
you referring to level 3 Steiner certificate?
I'm referring to the Class 12 project that sits inside that, which is akin to
Which we're still doing, and I mean, it doesn't, in Michael Park at the moment, it doesn't attract a formal qualification to it. They still do it, same standard, just on top of, but it counts. Yes.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
And just another thing, I guess, is, you know, you can work in life, but a fulfilling life is all the other things you do.
Yes.
And that's part of what these guys are learning and getting the good things out of. And that's kind of what we all hope to do, really.
Hi, thank you very much for the things that you spoke about, etc. I'm currently having a look at a variety of different educational settings for secondary school. My children don't come here, but I would love them to, but I just have to convince my partner. But how would a person coming into, say, I can only think of in the years, like year 8 or year 9, how would that be for a student coming into, you've spoken about the wonderful, 12 years of school or whatever that you get here and the great companionship and the relationships that are built up. How would someone coming in anew, sort of halfway through the schooling, how would that be? Yes.
Can I speak about that because I came in around that time? For me, because everybody is so different, you can generally find someone that's similar to that. Not exactly the same, similar to how you feel, feedback, all those different things. So for me, it was really easy to find friends. And then because I've got so many different aspects in my life that I try to excel at, I found myself blending in with a lot of different people in the class. So even if you're not similar people in the class, they're open to you joining the groups or joining into the class. So it's actually real, for me it was real easy coming into the class at that year.
There's only like 30 of us, right? So you're going to know everyone really, really well within like that year. You're going to be trading the shakes with someone's partners.
I had the same thing when I came in high school. And I think it's going to be a different experience to different people, but I think it's probably quite a challenging thing.
Yeah.
But because you don't have somewhere to hide in the same way. I've had friends who came in later from, so you're talking about my little brother Reed who came to Michael Park as well. He had some friends who came in from quite challenging state school experiences to Michael Park. And then when they first got there, everyone was walk, it was quite a different environment, they didn't really like it. But you can't sit there in your little corner with your friends just smoking weed and not paying attention to the class because everyone's right there. You kind of are forced to engage a little bit. So for some people I imagine that's quite a hard transition, but I think it's, you know, it's kind of what high school is sort of about and it's really positive. So for me it was really positive and then I was really shy and I didn't want to have to engage with people, but I couldn't just go hide. So I don't know, I think it will depend on the person, but I think overall I imagine it's a positive experience.
And I imagine there'd be guidance from the staff and the teacher. And would it be an experience within the education system, like trying to get into a different way of learning, or is there a lot of guidance with that as well?
I think because we know that transitions are difficult and important, we find ways of supporting people to do it. So just like the question that said how was the transition from Steiner School Certificate Level 1 to NCA Level 2, they didn't notice it because we'd organised it so that it wasn't a big deal. Exactly the same people coming in. We try and find, for example, the right buddy for them, the right friend, and we try and make sure that they understand what's going on and how it is and all of that. Because this is something we're dealing with quite often, we care how we do the transitions. We put the support in place. And it works most of the time. Of course it doesn't work all the time. Some people just don't ever feel at home with us. But many people go, oh, thank goodness, at last, here I am, perfect. Now I can get on with my life.
And I think the three of us all came from a real lack of structure, so it was a much more structured environment. And that transition, anecdotally from other people who had a similar thing to different schools, was disastrous. So that was positive for us. I don't really know anyone that close that came from a really formal structured environment to Michael Park. Aside from those that were at a really structured formal environment, that's been good school.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Recently into a class meeting with parents, and there are some parents that are challenging the cost of a school camp. So I feel the school camps are really linked into the curriculum as a subject plan. Did you guys feel that camps were worth it?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember school camps. I loved them. I absolutely loved them. Mainly because you get to go off for a week with your friends and do cool things, and there's nothing better than that, really. Always a memorable experience of each year. I think you learn a hell of a lot from them that you wouldn't learn in the classroom, and I think they can be a really great experience outside of just school. You learn it's really funny what you learn. Instead of 9 to 3, suddenly you're cooking dinners and evenings and meet people a lot. So I absolutely love them. And I know, sort of, I don't know if it's on the same topic, but when I was in class 10, we had the option to go to a Steiner conference. That was in Germany, I think. Yeah. And we were really keen to go. And then the cost came up. And in the end, we decided that we wouldn't go because some of the students in the class couldn't afford to go. And we said we'd rather not go. We'd rather not leave people behind and some of us get to go just because we can afford it. We either will go or we don't. So that was a pretty cool little thing just to see. But I remember we always tried to make it for first class camps just because every single one was a positive one for me. Yeah, don't know what they were on top of, but I hope that kind of hit it. What are you talking about? Yeah.
The beauty about class camps is that the teachers actually encourage all the students to go, and they don't look at cost as being the main factor of it. It's about getting you to the camp and letting you experience what it's like just being with the individuals in your class. Like David was saying, you do learn a lot of life skills within the camps. as you get to class 9 all the way through to 12, they actually base a lot of their main lessons around the camp. And not to say that you're doing work all the time within the camp. There's like really a specific small amount of time that you're doing the work for the main lessons, but it's really about bonding with the class, bonding with the teachers. We had an instance within our camp where the boys did not talk to the teachers about scaring the girls, and we pranked them. We pranked them on the night, and some of them were real frightened because the dorm they were staying in was haunted. Was supposed to be haunted, apparently. But they got us back on the last night. They communicated with the teacher with that one, and then they got us real good. And yeah, a lot of us still go on about it today. But yeah, no, class camps are real good experience.
Yes.
Just a bit more clarification about the science certificate. Just hard of hearing stuff here. At what level does it start? So you mentioned starts at 1.
Level 1.
Yeah.
So it exists, Steiner certificate level 1 and level 2 and level 3. Yeah. And 2 of the other Steiner high schools in New Zealand do all 3 levels. And we have chosen, and it's particularly us here in Auckland with Auckland University breathing down our necks, to start with level 1 and use it as a transition for NCA level 2 and level 3. A few years' time, I think we'll be transitioning and we'll do Steiner certificate right the way through. But at the moment, as we speak now, our commitment is to the status quo, which is Steiner School certificate, the general education of class 10, with the assessment of main lessons and all the other things that it has, and then, as you hear, quick and easy transition into NCA for level 2 and level 3.
Out the NCA and replacing it with Steiner 1, 2 and 3.
Sometime, maybe.
That's for the future.
There's a question mark over that.
When we get to the point when that's a possibility, you will hear, because trumpets will be blown, fanfares will sound, and we'll have a big hooey about it all, and we'll make a decision together.
Right. So
hang on a sec. You finish your question, then I'll come to you.
Do you have a time frame? Do you have a time frame for when that might be, roughly, to give me an idea?
It's very hard to say, because Michael Park's context, having offered NCA level 3, 2 and 3, and University of Auckland's entrance requirements and the diverse pathways to tertiary that we can offer at the moment, we can't offer that through Steiner School certificate in level 2 and 3 in the way that qualification has been developed at the moment. Further development is needed on SSC at level 2 and 3 to get it to a level where we would be comfortable saying, coming to you, our community, and saying, guys, we can totally say with total confidence that this is as good as, if not better, than NCA. And it's not there yet. And until we're absolutely 100% confident that it is, we're not going to come back to our community and say, this is what we would suggest.
Is there a further range of subjects you need?
We need more learning outcomes, and we need better quality learning outcomes that reflect our Steiner-Waldorf impulses and the kind of depth of thinking we're looking for, that critical thinking that we're trying to develop in our high school. And until it's there, it's not a goer from our point of view, because NCA is doing a better job.
Right, so those other schools that do have these certificate going to 3, does that stand up the universities at the moment?
Yes.
It does.
Right.
It does. And they got there because they'd never offered NCEA, and they were between a rock and a hard place, and the universities were demanding that the kids had a level 3 qualification or they wouldn't get entry. So the rollout of level 2 and 3 was accelerated into a short time frame to meet the needs of those 2 schools. But it doesn't meet the needs of Michael Park or Christchurch at the moment, which is why we're both, Christchurch and Michael Park, having offered NCEA, have stuck with NCEA, if that makes sense. And we're working with them to continue the development on SSC, but we can't, given there's quite a lot of, in dollars and cents terms, quite a lot of resource to go into SSC to get it to the level that we need it to be.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So, did that answer your question, Lady Legree?
Yeah, I think so. But from what I understood, is it only Auckland University that is recognising the...
Auckland University now does recognise STEM certificate level 3, yes. So that there is a student at Auckland University at present who got in on STEM certificate level 3 last year.
And what about other universities?
And everyone else. If you can get into Auckland, you can get into anywhere in New Zealand. Right.
Pretty much.
Now somebody here had a question.
That was basically my, if it was going to be brought in, how does it compare, like apples and oranges, if you've got 2 children going on, 2 young adults going for a tertiary, entry into a tertiary establishment. One's got MCEA level 3 and one's got science level 3. When the school chooses, when the school chooses to pick it up.
We've got to be sure that, for example, Celia in the future can get into engineering at Auckland Uni. We've got to be sure she has that pathway, because that's what she wants to do. If she doesn't get into but, we've got to be sure that our kids can get to where they want to get to if that's what they should be able to do.
Am I hearing that you're doing that in discussion with universities? Because that's kind of the key thing. That it's not just done in isolation, it's actually discussed.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry, I need to go. So you don't have a specific question or an old student? Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
We go first.
It's going to sound a bit unfortunate and negative in such a positive, but presumably there are children or teenagers that fall by the wayside, and there's shining examples here, there must be some time. And I was wondering if there was a common theme, or presumably if there was, you would have tried to address it, but I'm just wondering what are the danger signs that you would start looking for that maybe it wasn't working for you, and whether that's because it's a STEM system.
Good question. You mean for like kids looking at dropping out?
Yeah.
So
but you don't want to, and you kind of, I'm kind of wondering what am I looking for that would make me start to think maybe this just isn't the right decision that we've made, we need to give up.
So I personally meet with every student.
She wants to get a question.
Oh, sorry. Can you say the question? Because I thought the answer.
If a student is in danger of dropping out or losing their momentum, what are the warning signs? How would we recognise that? How do we work with that? We've heard a success story tonight from the people who presented. There surely must be people who get to that place. And what do we do about it? How do we recognise it? Is that about right?
So I meet with every student at least once a year. And my doors open and they come in and they tell me what they need. But I also, I have very frank conversations with the kids. And when Tanya said something about, I can't remember your phrase, but it wasn't to kick up the arse, but it was that sort of thing. I'm good at that. So I have really frank conversations with people. And I name it how I see it, and I ask them if it's true, and they tell me how they see it, and we work at it together and work out the solutions. They tell me what the issues are, and we work out how they can go forward. Often, over time, that's enough, but sometimes it isn't. And sometimes they tell me, sometimes the teachers tell all of us, and sometimes the parents say, look, this is what I'm observing. And then we go on looking for solutions. And the solutions may be that they leave school at the end of class 10 and they go on and do an apprenticeship, or they do another course somewhere else, that they do something more practical. And we've got a couple of people that we're working with like that now, and we're making sure they leave class 10 with what they need so that they can get into their next step. So we don't have a picture of one size fits all. And we have other people who, there's a guy I'm working with at the moment who's going to leave at the end of class 11 and go on to another course that will totally suit him, and we're making sure that he's got what he needs. And there are other people that we've had in the past who go through to the end of class 12 and do an independent study, but they leave with a level 2 certificate because that's what's appropriate for them. And I could name, half a dozen of those people. So what these people have said is that we work with them as individuals, and that's what we do. And that's what they expect of us, and that's what they tell us how to do.
Yeah, it's not a one-sided thing. Like, they don't focus on the students that they know who will achieve through school. If anything, they more so focus on the people who are struggling, because they know that people who are achieving really high basically have their feet on the ground. And not to say they forget about those people that are achieving, they just put more focus into the people that are.
Yeah.
I have
one up there.
I had a classmate that left. Sorry, that actually left in class 10, and she went on to pick up a career in hairdressing, and she did really well. She became one top Australian New Zealand award and things like that. And I think a lot of it was because she didn't leave like she'd failed. She actually left kind of with a bit of a blessing, and if this isn't for you, we understand, we'll help you as much as try and make it for you so you can complete it. If in the end it's not going to work out, how can we help you onto the next step, which I think helped her to get into what she did and become very successful in it and enjoy it, and not feel like just because I didn't complete high school, my life is over, I'm going to go work in a cafe or something for the rest of my life. Which is not a bad job.
There's a question up there.
I was just going to say, what about extending the high achievers?
That is my hot topic. Most people in our school choose 5 electives. In class 11 at the moment, we've got 3 people who are doing 6 electives, and that happens every year that people extend themselves by adding another subject. Or it might be that somebody in class 11 does a level 3 course already in class 11 and does it that way. Or we find an extension for them. In a main lesson, for example, we may give a task which can be interpreted in whichever way you like, and we target the top achievers, really challenge them. So you could go off this direction, and it's really important. Because although
what was the question? I've heard the answer, but I
How do you extend top achievers?
Sorry.
Yes.
Within the classroom?
Yeah.
We've got a guy, Casper, in my class. Usually he finished. We're year 13. Year 13.
Class 12.
Yeah, we've got a guy, Casper, in our class. He's a real high achiever. And within all of his lessons, he usually finishes everything real early. And teachers notice that when you're sitting there with your arms crossed, that you've finished your work, or you haven't. So they approach you and ask you whether you've finished or not. Then they see that you've done the work, they'll instantly give you something else.
And not just more of the same. It's got to be a real challenging extension for that person. Well, it certainly happens right through the high school, happened in class 9. I actually think it was one of the things that turned you around, challenging you in class 9, so you didn't have to throw your toys at them.
Yeah, just like that book.
Yes.
We're talking about extension. I got a little bit confused. My son is almost ready to go for the test for the NCA examinations for the Spanish. And I was told that he has to wait like 3 years more to do it. When I was planning for him to start doing the preparation now that he's in
answer that? Because I can answer for the high school, but not so easily.
I can't answer that, but I know that there is the flexibility to begin work on NCEA level 1 before class 10, for example. You don't have to wait for the year. So I think that another conversation needs to happen, Ruth, about timing on that, and we can look at. But the Minister herself speaks often about how important it is that students can progress at their own rate. Yeah. So you and I could have a conversation about that.
Can I say something on that? My younger brother, Marino, he's in class 10 at the moment. He is a really high achiever as well within maths, sciences and all of that. For him, the school holds competitions like the Australian maths thing? And yeah, those things. They're really pushed and encouraged to take those on. And it may be that your son just hasn't heard about those ones yet. And for my brother, it's helped him excel and know where he's at. And yeah, it's challenged him.
Just one minute. Can we go ahead?
So computers. So what was that about computers?
Do we have any subjects that include like computer science?
Technology, digital media, stuff.
Design, graphics. Oh yeah.
Do you offer level 3?
Yes.
Yeah.
Graphic design and
Even if you just one student for the subject, say high level 3 physics, and if there is one or two students wanting to do that, do you offer level 3?
It's interesting that this question about where our numbers are that we cut off. So if it's a practical subject like graphics, we can put level 2 and level 3 together in a combined class, or music would be another good example. So you've got, what, 2 of you doing music at level 3 and 3 doing it, or the other way around? NCEA. So it's a combined music class. So there's enough in them to have a teacher, and they're working at different levels. With practical subjects, that works. With maths, well, our classes are big enough and our sciences are big enough. Where we hit the problems is with the languages, and then we've put them on correspondence.
Because a few years back, my son wanted to come back to the class 12, class 12, and he wanted to do level 3 physics and calculus, and it wasn't offered because there was not enough numbers.
And now we have enough. So how many in your physics class?
8, 9.
8 or 9, and calculus?
7.
Yes.
6 or 7.
So we've really built that up over the last 5 or 10 years. It's really changed.
The rate of I think there is a valuing of excellence in student achievement in the high school, and there's been a commitment to providing academic certainty and diverse tertiary pathways for our students, and growing that over the last 10 years, and we're now in quite a different place than we were.
Yes, really good. Who do I go to next?
Thank you. It's not just Michael Park that has those issues with numbers and language classes. State schools have the same situations. One Tree Hill College didn't have a French teacher, so the girls in year 13 who wanted to do French had to do it through correspondence. So just don't think that's exclusively because this is a small school that that's an issue here.
Can we just go back to them and ask whether they actually had their questions answered?
Yeah, thank you, Paula. So I'd like to just do a bit more around the computers. So let me just, computer classes. So, So we do it in a variety of ways. So there's the tech design courses, and there's also the art design, which has some of that. But to be really honest, the best places our students get training in that is when they go off-site and they do what are called STAR courses in places like Tectorium. And they do level 4 and level 3 and level 4 courses right from class 10. But our students are going out and doing a range of digital technology courses, including animation ones. And those are state-funded courses with things beyond what the school can provide. And so we use the computers a lot in things like statistics and English and publishing, all sorts of things. But we actually are not, that's an area that I would say we're not good at, but what we are good at is finding other places that do them well, and we send our students there.
So they just go off-site for
3 days and end up with 10 level 4 credits. The particular place, Tectorium, usually only takes year 13 students into their courses, but they really like our students from Michael Park, and they take our class 10 students, our class 11 students. I didn't hear the question. Yes. No, it's just a 3-day course, a real intensive course for 3 days on whichever part of the computer thing it is, computer programming and various other ones, networks and so on. Yes, and then, oh gosh.
No.
Yes, that's all right. We should wrap up soon. Have you 2 more questions?
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify something about what was discussed before around, I didn't quite know what I needed out of it. Just another quick question about starting a certificate, view of potentially having it later when it's appropriate and the work's being done. You mentioned that there are 2 other starting schools that do have it, and so universities do accept graduates. For example, some of them came out of one of those schools with merit or excellence, getting accepted in med school potentially.
We don't know. We're waiting to see. The test will be this year. I'll be able to answer that next year.
So if the answer to that is yes, I was going to say, is it as simple, and sorry if this is naive, but is it as simple then picking up their more full curriculum, or it's not about that at all, ours is individual, and ours needs its own work? I'm just trying to understand it fully.
The Steiner School certificate that those students are studying is a narrower, less diverse pathway of options than we have at the moment at Michael Park and at Christchurch. So it is less desirable from the point of view of our senior high school students, and our community have told us, a lot of our high school community have said, not yet. This is, we want our kids to go here, our kids want to go here, and that qualifications pathway at the moment is not going to get them there. So further development needs to happen to diversify and strengthen the qualifications so that it will meet the needs at Michael Park and Christchurch.
And then we could be sure that they can get into med school or engineering or whatever. Yeah, it's a good sort of litmus test. Yeah.
So I guess my thing is understanding that individuals have talents and they also have areas that they struggle with. Challenges. And so I guess it's kind of the balance between letting them fly with their passions and where their talents lie, and then how do you deal with the challenges? So finding that balance, and then how does that then transition through to achievements, and particularly if the challenges are maths or even just basic English skills, I guess, I mean, I know that if you have particular physical needs or cognitive needs, there are, reader writers and all that kind of stuff as well available, but where it's a bit more shady than that, not as defined as that. Do you understand?
So how do we support challenges of various
so
sorts?
without focusing too much on those areas of challenge and being a bit, down on the negative. I know it's a pretty big question, but do you understand what I mean?
I'll try and answer it as best I can. Hopefully it's number one for me is very good teachers. And that's speaking in the sense that it's not just a teacher that gets up and gives you the book of how to do things and says do page 5 to 10 today, and that's it. They're very, what I found and when I was being taught, is very good teachers at spotting when you're struggling with something. So for me, English and probably need in life. But things that I struggled with, so I didn't like English. My spelling was terrible, even though I was a ferocious reader. For whatever reason, I didn't pick up spelling and stuff. And they sort of saw that, and use things like having a small class, and then the teacher can talk to you one-on-one, and you have that relationship with them that's close enough for them to say, look, you're struggling with this, what can we do? How can I change this part of work that we're doing now to suit you to learn it better? Do you want a bit more help with it? We can meet and talk it over and go over it, to go over it again if you didn't quite get it. Do you need my help explaining this part of it? Is there some different way that I can teach it to you that'll help? So that, for me, was the biggest thing, is that it's good enough teachers to recognize it, and close enough relationships and environment to be able to go in and attack the problem, instead of you got to look after the maths in class and, oh well, you're going to struggle a bit with that, but push through and try getting it achieved, and we'll tick it off as you're good. So that was my kind of personal experience.
I think further to what Toby said, that, and I'm not sure we've really articulated this totally explicitly tonight, but every single student in our high school, in fact it starts in class 8, at the end of class 8, sits down with Jane and has an individual review and goal setting meeting. So every single high school student has that, and then in the middle of the year they have a reflective check-in, review, conversation about how they're going on those goals, and the kaitiaki and the subject teachers and Jane talk. So if a student's struggling with something and they're not getting traction, or another issue has emerged, there can be an intermediate meeting to have a reflective conversation which is about setting strategies and unpicking where the problem is to figure that out. So when a student's struggling with something, or if something's, like you were saying, Michael, there's a number of mechanisms in there, but particularly that framework that sits around them, which wasn't actually there when Toby was there in the same way. It's something we've developed more recently for conversations to happen around that.
So, and I guess things like, classic things like dyslexia and other issues like that.
It was interesting having Sam, wasn't it? Because he was a dyslexic, is a dyslexic. And in fact, dyslexics in our high school tend to do really well, because the way they think is so creative. And they're not failures, they just have this difficulty. So when an exam comes along, and I walk in and I say, okay, down my list, so, my dyslexic, how many of you want reader-writers for this exam? We do it out in the open, because it isn't a stigma. Everybody knows they're dyslexic and that they should have a reader-writer. And they do it, and they're successful. They get their merits and excellences as they should, because that's what they should be doing. That's an easy one. Dyslexia is actually an easy one. More difficult are things like, can't get my homework done. And then you have to unpack that in conversation. So why don't you get your homework done? Do you know what your homework is? Do you have a place at home to do it? Is your timetable at home organised to support it? Or you can't work at home at all, so where are you going to do it? Okay, so come to school early and do it. They come up with the answers, and it's very interesting unpacking those sorts of questions. I love finding out the answers to those questions, because everybody is different, but the kids can identify their own solutions, and that's what we facilitate. That's what I facilitate. That they're the ones who know their problems best. And for example, there was a girl a few years ago who found maths really difficult, and we were having this very interesting conversation, and she suddenly realised, oh, I know what the problem is. I need to see it upside down. When I play cards, I open the cards upside down and then I can see them. And then she went off to her maths tutor, and she found if she was sitting opposite her maths tutor, she understood the maths when it was upside down, not the right way up. So it was solved. But what a weird solution. And who would have thought it? But we got there.
As long as it got fixed.
Yeah, as long as it's fixed, it's great.
So I mean, I guess I'm coming from my own historic poor experiences within the education system and not having those supports or even understanding certain things like dyslexia and other things being around. And I guess now that understanding is there, so I guess the worry, and then hopefully it's been got rid of, is that potentially the size and the resources of the school, that there is those, that with the recognition today that those facilities aren't there to support those students.
Basically, from what I've learned from the school is that they've taught me a lot of different things, but there's one thing that stood out. And I still use this quote today, is that challenges are inevitable, but defeat is optional. The school taught me that, and basically, challenges are going to come at you from your front, etc. But it's within you, whether you choose to be defeated by it or to excel past it. And then individuals around you within the school help you to get past it.
I'd like to say one more thing on that. One thing I really noticed, my best friend was dyslexic when we went to school. And the thing, we're talking about facilities, sure, hopefully we do have them. The thing that I like is that it won't get missed. It's not 1,000 people per year where someone may go under the radar because they're scared to admit they can't read or have trouble with this. It's small enough and people know each other enough, or the teachers see us every day enough, that I don't think anyone ever gets missed out, whether it's an actual terminological thing like dyslexia or just personality or trouble learning in a certain way. So that was a big thing for me, is that no one gets missed out of it behind.
Can we go?
I wonder if what we might do is just thank everyone, but the 5 of us could be here for a few minutes, just if there are any individual questions which we could answer before we all go. Would that be all right? So I hope that's been helpful. I hope it's been informative, and if you've got any further questions, don't hesitate to come forward. And thank you for coming.
And you can always